this time we're going to ask for a little quiet in the hall. Even weighing in back there, you can keep it down. All right, Hall of Fame induction. So I'd like to start by briefly introducing each of the inductees to you, and then give you a little background on the Powerlifting Hall of Fame and what it means to be inducted. If each of you could stand as I call your name, and audience, please hold your applause till the end. Scott Lehman, Roy Taylor, Keith Kanemoto, Steve Goggins, Bruce Takala, Wayne Jandock, and Paul Sutton, and then myself. Thank you, Steve. Thank you. The honor of being inducted into the Powerlifting Hall of Fame is as good as it gets. We all remember how happy we were when we competed in our first competition decades ago, then set our first record, won our first gold medal at our World Championships. We broke, setting that world record that had dogged us for years. Next, it was earning our international elite status, a seemingly impossible feat years ago. Unlike the world record, this can never be taken away from you. Sorry, I printed it really big, so it looks like a lot, but it's not. There's only one honor that exceeds all others, and that's being one of the select few that have ever been inducted into the Hall of Fame. This ceremony is only held every other year, even years, and to date, only 68 lifters have ever been inducted into the Hall of Fame. To be included in this rare group of lifters means their bodies have been tested by what I consider the toughest competitor of all, time. Add in the inevitable age factor, most of us 50s, 60s, and 70s still competing, and that makes a brutal combination. No youthful lifter out there today can understand, but your day will come. Many up here have competed for 40 years and more. The criteria committee has established for a lifter to be considered has little to do with how much you lifted, but their consistency over the decades. How they've given back, how they've influenced and impacted the sport itself in their own unique way. In a minute, you'll hear about each of their individual backgrounds and better understand why they stand before you today. Many of these individuals go back to the youthful days of powerlifting. You all owe them a great deal of gratitude. When I first competed myself over 40 years ago, the term gear didn't exist. But it would have been a thin leather belt. I still see many lifters. I think, Steve, you said you've had your belt for years. Still using a wrestling singlet and ace bandages. That was gear in the 60s and 70s. Today's technology didn't exist. Today, when we all watch online what is now referred to as classic videos like Eddie Cohn, great lifters like that, in the 60s, 70s, I'm still awed and mesmerized. The depth of their squats without all the technology today and the amount of weight on their backs. They buried their squats, blasted through their lifts, and it was just brute strength and hard training. Sorry. At this time, I'd like to introduce all the committee members that made this happen. This is an ongoing process. It starts about 9 months in advance to get to where we are today. So Gordon Santee, could you stand up, please? Kim Wheeler, Steve Dennison, our president, Kevin Meskew, Mike Tronsky, and then myself. Thank you, everyone, for making this happen. A great deal of paperwork, emails, phone calls that goes into this. And now I'd like to turn the microphone over to each of the committee members. Just going to give you a very brief background on why each of these people is sitting before you today. Let's start it off. Kim, there you go. Thank you.
Here we go.
Mr. Scotty
Aaron, please. Yes, clap for him now. I just broke the rule. We're supposed to hold clap until later, so. No. Okay. I have known Scott Lehman for over 20 years. He moved up to at least the 181s. He belongs in the 220s, or at least the 165s. But he has successfully ignored me for all those years and continues to hit elite totals. Sorry, thank you. To hit elite totals meet after meet in the 148s. Scott has maintained his girlish figure from his his football years, taught in college, and now into his master powerlifting years. While I, on the other hand, did what lifters normally do: get old, get fat, and move up in weight classes. However, I don't personally know any other lifter who has posted up more elite or 9 to 10 time body weight totals more often than Scott has over the past 15 to 20 years. Scott lifted in his first meet in 1990 in the ADFBA, which later became the USAPL. He's lifted in the APF, the AAPF, which is the drug tested division of the APF, the USPF, and now the USPA, is one of our most knowledgeable international referees and a member of our executive committee. Not only is Scott a very good judge, he's extremely supportive of lifters. Many times in the meet, Scott will help wrap knees, warm a lifter up, grab a bottle of water. Whatever the need is, if he's able to help that moment, Scott will take care of it. Over the years, Scott has achieved many state, national, and world records and titles. He's expressed in his bio that his most memorable national title was in 2003 with the USPA APL in Rapid City, South Dakota. Scott was in a field of about 8 lifters and ended the day by winning a very close battle by 2.5 kilos in his favorite lift, the deadlift. And if you know Scott, you know that he, as many of the rest of us, actually hates the deadlift, which made that win that much better. His best lifts in competition, which we all know are the only ones that count, are single ply division, 606 squat, 402 bench, 556 deadlift, and his all-time best single ply total of 1521. In the raw division, 486 squat, 330 bench, 496 deadlift, and a 1290 total. Scott currently holds the 40 to 44 master state, American, and world records in all lifts and total for 148s, and also holds the open division state records for all lifts and total. I personally believe he pushed himself, he could retake that open world title again. Although Scott has trained in public gyms, he has trained for years in his garage, and it can be said that the Lehman family is most definitely a powerlifting family. As Scott described in his bio, 2 of my kids have competed on the platform with me. One has had her own American record, which she was in the 13 to 15-year-old age group. My oldest has lifted and also squat and loaded in several meets, and my youngest was at his first meet when he was a month old. Those of us who have been doing this for most of our lives know that dividing our time between training and family can be very wearisome at times, especially when getting ready for a big meet while maintaining long hours at work and still trying to spend quality time with the family. But through it all, Scott has never forgotten the family and friends who supported him and wishes to thank them all at this time. Ladies and gentlemen, Scott Lehman.
I'm here to introduce Steve Goggins, our second inductee. Steve, go ahead and stand up. Steve is, this is not his first Hall of Fame to be inducted in. He was inducted in the York Hall of Fame a couple years ago, right? Steve is he's our state chairman for Georgia, lives in Atlanta, Georgia, international referee. He's on our executive committee. He holds about 4 or 5 meets every year down in Georgia. And
he's held our international, our world bench press deadlift last year. To tell a little bit about Steve, he was born December 15, 1963 in Chatham, Virginia. Youngest of 6 siblings. He went to Chatham High School where he was a 4-year letterman in football. He also lettered in track and field and wrestling. He started powerlifting while in high school around 1979. He competed in the USPF and the APF most of his career, 15 years of competing in Texas and more than 10 years competing out of Atlanta, Georgia. Steve served in the U.S. Army from September 83 to May of 1990. While in the Army, he served with the 82nd Airborne Division and was a member of the Armed Forces Powerlifting Team. His Army coach is sitting right next to him. Bruce Tackle was his all-Army coach. Steve has competed in powerlifting for over 25 years, and it was the first powerlifter to squat 1,100 pounds. If you ever Google his squat on YouTube and watch this guy squat, it is deep. It's not a shallow squat at all. It's like amazing. It looks like an accordion coming down and then coming out. Unbelievable back strength. He has won many titles since he started powerlifting as a teenager. He's competed in the 220, 242, and 275 weight class. To name some of the championships he's won, he's been a USPF Junior National Champion, a USPF National Champion, APF National Champion, WPC, World Powerlifting Congress World Champion, a 4-time WPO World Champion. He resides in Marietta, Georgia, and is the current state chair, as I mentioned, in Georgia. Steve also is an online coach, so if everybody can be looking for programming, this is one of the best online coaches out there to help you, with any programming, technique, form, whatever. Steve does offer programming and coaching and is available for seminars. He's been a personal trainer since he came out of the Army, since 1990, and is certified through the Cooper Institute. Among some of his titles, lifting in the USPF from 83 to 2003, multiple Army championships, multiple all Armed Forces championships, best lifter in the last official USPF Armed Forces championship in 1990. He was the Budweiser World Record Breakers Hawaii champion, broke multiple records in 89 and 90. If you remember the meets in Hawaii, that Gus Rethbush held over there. He was over there for several of those. YMCA National Champion in 86, Junior National Champion in 86, multiple Senior National Champion. He was also an IPF World Champion, 3rd place in 1992 in the IPF. And lifted in the Mountaineer Cup in 2002. Anyway, this guy has a long history. He's been in the sport a long time. I call him a legend. He's up there with Ed Cohn. He's been around this game a long, long time, established himself, and he's, I'm sure most of you have seen him. He's been on the front cover of Powerlifting USA magazine. He's an icon, I consider an icon of the sport. And pleased to induct him in the Hall of Fame this year. Thank you, Steve.
Does he want to say any words? Do you want to say something to the mic?
This is a great honor being inducted into the Hall of Fame. It's my second time being inducted into the Hall of Fame. To me, being inducted into the Hall of Fame means all the help I had and all the training I had from my training partners, the gyms I worked out in, the people I was around to help me. Everybody was had a part of it. None of them are here today, but there's so many people in our lives that help us do the things that we need to do before we can get to. And there's no way without my mother, my father, my family, everybody, my friends, who've been in my life. They'll get to this point where we get to achieve
Yes, Steve said you want to stand on the table. I am standing. Now, you know, we talk about this Hall of Fame. I've been inducted in 5 Hall of Famers. And I was on Hall of Fame because you're very old and you're dead. But I'm standing here with these gentlemen because they're in the Hall of Fame for being good. Good people, good lifters, and true to the sport. So the recognition we're getting today is something that comes over a period of years and decades. So I am honored to be here today. And today, I have a chance to do payback. The first inductee will be a very dear friend of mine, Mr. Roy Taylor. I one time called him Ray. He looked at me, he said, "It's Roy." I said, "I'm old, I forget things." Roy started powerlifting. He's a newbie. He didn't start powerlifting until 2004. So he's been around a little while, but we're still working on him. I guess he just didn't realize how much fun he was missing out on. Okay, his first meet was at the home, the Mecca bodybuilding and fitness and all that is Muscle Beach, in Venice. Freak show, but we've had some fantastic meets there. So in 2005, Roy shows up at the meet and pulls an awesome deadlift. He's a deadlift specialist. He's lifting over there. The reason I remember June 2005, Muscle Beach, is because on my third attempt, deadlift, that guy right there gave me a red light for not locking out my right knee. Thank you, Scott. Thank you. I came back and I put 245, so nah. But I always remember that. Roy initially started out with the 90 kg, 198 pound class, but he kind of fluctuated because I think we realized as we master lifters get older, it's harder and harder to maintain our body weight. So we fluctuate. You know, I started at 65 and 48, and I'm at 32. I will not go to 123. I'll go to the movie before I do that. But Roy's been really effective because he started out at such a later age. He hasn't had a chance to have all the injuries we've had over the years. You know, torn bicep, torn leg, and anything like that. But what he's done in the Masters divisions, 70 to 74 Masters division, in 2011, he pulled at 82.5 kg, 181 pounds, he pulled a 208 kg deadlift. That's 458 pounds. He goes back 2 years later, 13, he pulls, goes to 90 kg, and he pulls a nice 195 kg, 429. So the guy just keeps staying strong. You know, people say you get old, you get weak. No. You got the right attitude, the right training, the right diet, and you've got faith. You can keep going in this game. Roy's also been sneaky in a sense. He's one of the best lifter awards too. And there was one, the FitX one in 2009. I'm not going to report you to the IRS, but he got a check for $500. And we call that an honorarium. We file it on the tax return. Right, Roy? This thing I remember. You know, Roy was at the in 2009 here in Las Vegas. We had the World Championship, and Roy pulled a 205, 451 kg deadlift. That record stands today. It's still in the record books. Never been broken. So that means you are the best man. It's also interesting too here. 2009, he pulls a 205. In 2011, he pulls a 208. Wait a minute. How do you go from 205 or 51 to 208? By better training and being committed to the sport. For the past 4 years, Roy has been involved as a state referee, holding out, or helping out and doing things like this. I understand he was just upgraded in his referee status from state to national. Congratulations, Roy. It's a well done job. Now there's one thing about, I look at Roy kind of like the John Wayne type, okay? Quiet, a very peaceful man that gets the job done. It's kind of like, okay, howdy partner, let's go get this thing done. And I respect him for that. You're not going to see him ranting and raving, jumping up and down, making excuses. The man is just a good, solid citizen, and I truly respect him for that. Okay, now we come to the good part. Roy was a good deadlifter. He was doing a deadlift and getting prepared, getting set up. Goes down there, grabs the bar, and starts pulling. As the bar leaves the floor, his wife stands up and yells out, "Get it up, Taylor." Well, I'll leave the rest of that to your imagination. I had to do it. You know, Roy's also been kind of like a coach and a mentor to a lot of people. One of our lifters, Greg Baxter, Roy actually introduced him to the sport of powerlifting. And I want to make sure you understand that this is a man who just says, "I'm going to open my heart, I'm going to help you out." Turns out that I've known Greg for years. I used to work for Lindbergh Nutrition. Because of Roy, Greg Baxter was successful in lifting and got his picture in the catalog of Lindbergh Nutrition. Because of Roy. There's nothing to his, Roy is a man of faith, and I respect him for that. So what I really want to do today is say, Roy, it's a pleasure to be your friend, be able to induct you into the Hall of Fame. So Roy, please come. Roy, thank you. Speech.
I'm Paul with all these guys up here, and thank you. First, I want to thank Jesus, my Lord and Savior. Second, I want to thank my wife, Kathy. What a great wife she is. She's the one that got me started working out in the garage because of my health. She also mentioned Get It Up Taylor. Thanks to Tom Miller. I met you in 2004 at a high school meet in San Clemente, and they had this, and I asked if they had it for over 3 rows. You said yes, you're one of them. Thank you, Lisa. I missed my first squat in Venice Beach. You smiled and said, "Listen for my command." Thank you, Alan and Bonnie, for your friendship and your encouragement. Alan, your advice about taking a 4th attempt, at least you'll know for sure. And the advice you said, you made your squat when there was too much loaded on the bar. You said you still have the bench and deadlift to go. Save your strength. You got your squat in. I thank Manny Hernandez, Steve Ballinger, Greg Baxter, Tom Miller for letting me train with them. Thank you, Steve Dennison. What a great job you do. To put these meets together, I see some of the preparation, but not all the work before getting it together. Thank you all the lifters that helped me, encouraged me, and what a great bunch of people. Thank you fans for coming to watch. Thank you family for your support. And Dan Martin, thank you.
Okay, our next inductee is the one and only Mr. Alan Arts. A pleasure, sir. Alan started the Iron Game back in the early days. Matter of fact, he was 18 years old in 1974. He started lifting weights. Back in those days, you know what weights were? They were plastic containers with sand on the inside and little stinky little bars. So things have really changed over the years. His first meet was an AAU meet back in 1974. Let's see, that's probably before many of you were not even born yet. He continued to train, but it was more of a casual training. He really never got back into it until 2001. 2001, he said, "I like this stuff, I'm having fun." So he kind of did this secret training. He didn't really go to any competitions, but he trained for the most part to really build up his strength. Well, he started off, as a skinny little kid at 18, weighing 198 pounds. He reemerged in May of 2006, coming in as a master, 54, weighing usually between 275 and 308 pounds. So, I guess he ate his Wheaties. The increase in size and strength and training over the years gave him an excellent opportunity because he's been best lifter many, many times. Over the years, he has set or broken or rebroken over 450 state, national, and world records. So there's a lot of history behind what he's done. Kind of emerged from a very slow beginning, did the proper training, has come back as a monster. Back when he started out at his raw bench, just with a t-shirt, was 172.5 kg, 380 pounds. Gaining the strength, gaining the weight, he came back at his raw bench is now 460 pounds. And his single ply bench record is like 508. So there's been a big change in training, and in some cases the equipment. His ground pounder, what we call the deadlift, is his best is 617, which is a nice number. Bonnie and Al have been involved in the sport for many years, and they've had their team, Alan and Bonnie Marks. I have some T-shirts that actually have that on the back. I keep them in my closet at home. They're kind of a momentum. There's something to really remember. He's been very active over the years, and he's been involved in between 7 and 10 organizations. We call it the alphabet soup. Okay, ready? USPA, USPF, AAU, WBDL, WPF, APF, WPC, APA, NASA, and APC. Now, you know the real names? It doesn't matter, but he's been very active. I remember, personally, we were down in 2007, we were in Torreon, Mexico together at the World Championship. And then in Vienna, Austria, 2008, and right here in Las Vegas in 2009. So he's traveled internationally for a number of years. I remember way back in the beginning, when you were just starting out, working with you, and he's transitioned from state to national to international referee. It's been a wonderful trip, hasn't it? Yeah. What's interesting too is Alan you'll see him running on here like crazy. Quite often he'll not only be refereeing, coordinating, making sure that the referees are in place, but he'll also lift. And he'll lift in both raw and single player multiply. And I think he and Bonnie may have set an unofficial Guinness record in that they at one meet, they lifted both raw and equipped together, and they had 48 successful attempts, breaking over 20 existing records. So you'll see him sitting in the chair 1 minute, next thing you see he'll be on the platform lifting. Okay, let's talk about his resume. Regional chairman, state, national, world records chairman. Right now, he's totally immersed in, of course, the USPA and the IPL. Executive Vice President, USPA. Executive Vice President, IPL. Referee chairman. Vice President of the Single Ply Division. Hall of Fame Committee Chairman. And what I consider to be the most important thing, keeper of the crown jewels. Alan is responsible for the maintenance of what I consider the best rule book in the sport, the USPA IPL rule book. It is the gold standard by which all others are measured. In closing, Alan's been a very giving person. When he's not busy, he's always busy. You'll see him coaching. He's actually opened up his gym to allow people to come in and train with him. He's a mentor, he's a coach, sponsoring people, and to that point, Alan, I would like to say it is a pleasure and an honor having you here in the Hall of Fame. So please, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Mr. Alan Morris.
Thank you. Just briefly, first most important, thank Bonnie, my wife, 39 years, putting up with me. Thank you. Like Steve, I do this 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. Christmas, New Year's doesn't matter. I'm on the road most of the year, trying to get consistency. Bonnie has put up with a lot. I certainly appreciate that. Committee members, I certainly thank you. And this group I'm joining, this is awesome. To be inducted 2016 with such a group as this. Thank you very much.
I want to thank everybody for coming out today to be witness to our inductees here. I just want to honor you all. Good to be part of this. Our next inductee has the distinction of being one of the few lifters here, who have been in the sport longer than I have. Paul Sutphin. He entered his first competition in February of 1972, about 3 years to the day of the month of myself. Now, unfortunately, I'm given only 2 minutes to do this ceremony for Paul and to paint the picture of who Paul is, what he has accomplished, and what he means to the sport. Talking about all the above mix would take us to about 6 o'clock tonight. This is stuff he's done. I remember Paul reading about him back in the mid-70s in the early powerlifting publications like Iron Man, Les Kramer's Power Man magazine, and Dan Newell's Powerlifting News. Days long before the internet, when Powerlifting USA was just a 5x8 photocopied booklet. I remember reading of a pretty strong 148-pounder who consistently was putting up respectable numbers. Mid to high 400-pound squats, 300-pound bench, 500-plus deadlift. I remember first meeting Paul in 1976 at the Junior Nationals in Ohio. We lifted in the same flight. Myself is a 114-pounder, Paul is a 148. As you can see, he's moved up a few weight classes since then. Paul's top 5 placing at that contest served notice that there was a lot more to come, that he would be a force to be reckoned with nationally. The stars came together. They aligned for Paul on July 14th, 1979. The highlight meet of Paul's career. This occurred at the 1979 Junior Nationals. And let me just clarify what junior meant. Nothing like today. Junior back then meant the AU had 2 major national contests. They had the Junior Nationals and the Senior Nationals. The Junior Nationals, you could only win once. You were not eligible if you won it before. And these were, it was like the lesser of the national contest. Well, that date stands in my memory as the only meet I've ever bombed out in. Paul, he must have drank that California Kool-Aid, because at a body weight of 147, he squatted 545. He benched 341, deadlifted 595. And that's pretty much unheard of at a junior national contest. He totaled 10 times body weight. You just don't walk the junior national competition and total 10 times body weight. 1482 he totaled at 148. He won the best lifter for the entire contest there. His 545 squat was performed with glorified ace bandages. They were just things you probably buy at Walmart. He offered about as much support as a deadbeat dad. A truly remarkable feat. There's no bench shirts at the time. He benched 341. Paul is lifted in 5 weight classes and total elite in 4 of them. His all-time best lifts are a 722 in the squat, 407 bench, and 677 in the deadlift. At the moment, Paul holds USPA American records for the 60 and 64 220-pound weight class multiply division. Paul has lifted also for 5 different powerlifting teams, most notably Luke's Gym, aka the Wild Bunch. I don't know if many of you have heard about them, but that roster of that team included Chuck Dunbar, 114-pound IPF champion, Luke Iams, Jack Wilson, Frank White, Steve Wilson, and many others. Now, as impressive as Paul's accomplishments are on the platform, they pale in comparison to his contributions. Paul was a USPA national referee from 1983 to 1991, when he was promoted to the IPF Category 2, a level of official he maintained for over 2 decades. Paul has officiated at least 40 major national championships and currently is active as an IPL referee here with the USPA. In addition, Paul has served as West Virginia state chairman for multiple organizations, spanning from 1975 to 2009. Paul, your effort and hard work has not gone unnoticed. Paul mentioned in his bio what an honor it is to be considered for the USPA Hall of Fame. Well, Paul, I've got news for you. We here at the USPA consider it an honor to have you join us in the USPA Hall of Fame. Ladies and gentlemen, Paul Slepin.
I just want to say one of the greatest honors of my entire life has been this Hall of Fame induction in recognition by my peers and many men that I'm honored to be sitting in the same row with. I thank Steve Dennison, the USPA, everyone involved, the Hall of Fame Executive Committee, for this great honor. I'm most humbled. And I will say that Bob Hoffman, the late Bob Hoffman, once said, I love weightlifting and weightlifters. I love what I'm saying. I love powerlifting and powerlifters. And I love this area. It's been 37 years since I flew to LA and looked at the 148s and 50 pounds lighter. I'd like to get back down there somewhere. Maybe someday it'll happen. It's not about powerlifting or lifting weights at age 20. It's about lifting weights at age 60 and 70 and beyond, Gordon. So, thanks once again, and I just wish the late Vince White were here, and of course my father, who passed away many years ago. Thank everyone involved. God bless powerlifting, and God bless the USA.
Wayne Jandoff. I want to begin with a comment about this man's coaching ability. I've been in powerlifting since 1974, and I've coached and trained lifters for over 3.5 decades. In all those years, I've witnessed a few of the best powerlifting coaches, and Wayne is most certainly one of those. This guy knows his lifters, has a plan for his lifters, and works that plan with precision. And of course, you might say, well, that's what a coach is supposed to do, and that's true, but if it was that easy, we would all be doing that. And try that sometime with one lifter. This guy does it with a dozen at big meets, and he does a fantastic job. Wayne has been involved with powerlifting for over 32 years. His first competition was in 1985 at the Hawaii State Championships. At that time, he trained at the University of Hawaii, the Waialua Health Club, and the Central YMCA in Honolulu. He competed in Hawaii from 1994 to 2001, taking a break from 2001 to 2004 to run youth and teen sports programs, incorporating powerlifting into the regimen to enhance their sports performance. In 2001, Wayne trained and coached at the Elk Rapids Fitness in Michigan and founded the powerlifting team, which he is now going to pronounce. What is it, powerlifting? What's your name of your team?
Ikaikaho Omao, which means strength and persistence.
Wayne has competed in 3 weight classes, the 198 Open and the 220 and 242 Masters division. Some of his accomplishments are 26-time California State Champion, 15-time National Champion, 10-time World Champion. But according to Wayne, these individual accomplishments are not as impressive as the 2013 USPA National Team Championship that our little town of Sonoma had captured. His best lifts are 720 squat in the 198s, 490 bench in the 242s at age 47, and a 633 deadlift, all done in 1980s gear. And the gear issue, we've already talked about that. Gear back then was nothing like it is today. Wayne's competed in the USAPL, USPF, the WPF, and the USPA in our affiliate, the IPL. Wayne listed many accomplishments by his Sonoma Power Team, and time constraints prohibit me from listing them all, but here are just a few from his bio. The majority of my contributions to the sport of powerlifting come from the Sonoma venture. We have accumulated 428 gold medals, 29 silver and 7 bronze, 640 state records, 394 national American records, 122 world records, and 46 best lifter awards. He concludes by saying, I've developed a system of training that all of our lifters adhere to and are extremely prepared at competitions. I look for nothing in return, but I receive much more than anyone can imagine. I think you would all agree with me when I say the evidence of Wayne's accomplishments as a lifter and his contributions to the sport rightfully qualifies him for induction into our Hall of Fame. Mr. Wayne Jennings.
I want to thank Steve Dennison for being a visionary. A lot of us lifting on the team have been with him from USAPL to USPF to USPA. In fact, he got a picture of Steve being Karen's best squatter down in Hemet in the early 2000s. I just want to thank my team. And, just thank you for allowing me to serve you. And that's about it. And again, thank you, Steve.
Okay, I'm really honored to be able to present our next inductee into the Hall of Fame, Bruce Takla. I've had the opportunity to work closely with Bruce on developing the new software that you're seeing running here today and working on projects together. And we built a really good working relationship. I have a lot of respect for Bruce. He's just a very humble, honest, and intelligent man who has a lot of wisdom that we can all look to help us really bring this organization to the next level. So thank you, Bruce, for that. He's also an IPL international judge, and he can be attributed with the distinction of being the guy who saved this competition. I'll get to that later. But let's talk about Bruce's accomplishments as a lifter. He began in the sport in 1974. His career ran until 1986. He was part of the Fort Richardson powerlifting team, lifted there from 1974 to 79.
lifted with the USPF from 1979 to 1986. He was also a member of the PNP Gym from 1979 to 1981, the TAC powerlifting team in Minnesota from 1981 to 83, and the Army powerlifting team from 1980 to 1993. The inter-service team from 1980 to 93, and the U.S. national team from 1985 to 1989. Some of the major titles that Bruce has won: he took first place and best lifter awards at many events. He took first place at Junior Nationals, set a national squat record. First place in the inter-service championships on 5 different occasions. 5-time second place USPF Senior National Champion, and third place in the 1985 IPF World Championships, which was Bruce's last competition. He lifted in the 165 and 181 pound class with best lifts of a 733 pound squat, 452 pound bench press, 700 pound deadlift for an 1852 total. He's also been a USPF Cat 1 international referee, and as I mentioned, he's a IPL international referee with this organization. He's competed and judged in the IPF, USPF, and the USPA. He served on the executive committee of the USPF for 2 terms. He was a coach with the U.S. Army team, inter-service team, the U.S. men's national team. He's been a meet director for the West Point Powerlifting Championships for 3 years. He developed the first actual software program for running competitions that's evolved over the years and kind of evolved into what you're seeing here today. So, without any further delay, it's with great pleasure that I announce Bruce Takala, hereby inducted into the Hall of Fame.
I want to thank a fellow by the name of Mike Dan for getting me started. Then Jim McCann took me to the next level, and to Scott Bailey and the Mankato crew for carrying me through the championship years. I am honored and humbled to be recognized by my associates and continue to be amazed at the quality and work ethic of all the people in the powerlifting community. Thank you.
Normally this is a point, as someone would say, we save the best for last, but it's just not the case, I'm sorry. It's Keith we're talking about. Keith, I'm sorry, buddy. Keith is actually a very good friend, as you can tell, that's why I can joke with him like this. He's 57 years old and competing in powerlifting for 28 years now. Besides being an accomplished lifter, he's unselfishly supported the sport over the years as an international referee, meet director, coach, and trainer, not only to his gifted daughter, Christina, but countless other lifters over the years. His first meet with the ADFPA Cal State bench press competition in Fremont back in 1988. The first team he competed on was in 92, World Gym, Citrus Heights, California. Then in 96, World Gym, Campbell, California for 5 years till they closed. And then he finally made it to the big time, the world famous Iron Institute, aka team at Allen Binding Heights. After that, he went on to form his own team, IB Strong, in San Jose, where he still trains and competes today. Keith has set countless state, American, and world records over the years, both raw and single ply. He lived in the 181s and 198s. He still remains fearless at this mature age and still competes and wins master and open division. Takes on these young kids, meet after meet, destroys them. His best lifts, 710 squat, 507 bench, 600 deadlift, 1767 total. Remember, not in his prime 25, 30s. This was his late 40s and 50s. Those are elite numbers. On Keith's bio, we require, before submitted to the committee, before we vote on it, there was a section that asked about listing all your titles and awards won over the years. Submitted was a very impressive list, far too long to go in detail at this time. But what impressed me most in reviewing this and making my decision, the very last entry Christina put down, and I quote, Best Coach and Dad Award. I think Christina summed it all correct with that one statement. Not only is Keith and Stacy, I'm not sure where Stacy is sitting. There she is, his wife and their daughter have raised their daughter correct over these years, passing on all the years of wisdom and life's experiences to Christine. But they've also passed on the passion and love for the sport of powerlifting to her, so she can carry on the Kanemoto name in the sport for decades to come. I'm positive the day will come when Keith will be witness to his own grandkids competing on the USPA platform. Let me paraphrase it a little. Actually, I'm sure Keith has a little calendar hidden away in a desk drawer somewhere, and he's secretly counting off the days until he has a grandchild, Christine, that will be on that platform, and I know that's a fact. To say Keith is such a humble man is an understatement. I know for a fact, if you have the choice of reliving all these years of glory, medals, trophies, and awards he's set, or instead, standing on the sidelines, coaching and rooting on his daughter, he would take that in a heartbeat. I'd like to now present Keith with this award. Keith, can you come up here? Our appreciation.
Say something. I did. You don't have to. I didn't.
I'd say thank you, Steve, family, committee. Thanks.
I told you he's a humble guy. I gotta drag it out of him. At this time, inductees, can I ask you to stand one last time? Audience, can we stand, show appreciation? Thank you, Bruce. So now the total is 76 has all ever been inducted. Thank you very much. Thank you, audience. Lifters.